Okay, this is my review for episode 7, I believe, of Supernatural, Hookman. So it starts off with a cold opening like we've become used to. Our main girl this week's name is Lori. She's in college and she lives in a sorority, and she's trying on clothes for a date, and her roommate doesn't like what she has on, so she pressures her to put on this like slutty low-cut top, and she does. And then we see Lori and her boyfriend making out in a car, and he is kind of pressuring her to go farther than she wants to, and she keeps telling him to stop, and he keeps saying it's okay, it's okay. And boys, if a girl says no, you telling her it's okay is not going to make it okay. If she doesn't want to go any further, don't. He's a flipping idiot. So then all of a sudden, you hear this like screeching noise, like almost like nails on chalkboard. It's kind of shrilly and awful. And he goes out to see what it is. If I heard strange noises, I wouldn't be going outside to see what it is. I would be, starting my car and getting out of there. So he's kind of dumb in my book. So pretty soon after that, she sees him. She goes outside and she sees her boyfriend kind of strung up. It looks like he's missing an arm and is very bloody. I would be freaking out, and she starts screaming, obviously. And so then we go to Sam and Dean, and they see the article about Lori, and they go to the college, pretend to be transfers at the neighboring frat house. And this is so not Dean's environment. It is hilarious to try to see him fit in with the college. Sam at least has the experience of college to know what's going on and be able to fit in, but Dean is just very out of his element in this episode because he just does not fit in. And Dean kind of goes right into the investigating thing about the boy who was killed. And they find out he was dating the pastor's daughter. So they go to the church and they meet Lori and introduce themselves to her. And after talking to her about it and finding out a little bit more information, Sam thinks it's the Hookman legend, and Dean doesn't, so they go to the library to investigate further. We see this scene with Lori and her father, and they're arguing about what she thinks she should do and she should be able to because she's an adult, and he doesn't want her to do all these things. And it's just a very common scene to see from kids in college wanting to be independent and the parents still wanting to, hold on to that last shred of, being able to have some sort of say in their life and in what they do. But she kind of pushes him off and wants to be very independent, even though she just kind of went through this tragic thing with her boyfriend being killed. Sam and Dean go to the scene of the crime where he was killed, and they bring rock salt. And it's the first time we see rock salt being used, which is weird to me because I'm so used to it in all the episodes. They use it all the time. They use it constantly. But it's funny that they don't bring it up until the 7th episode of using it as a spirit deterrent. But so anyways, that gets the introduction in this episode, I guess. And they get caught by the police, but they get they get let off. And we jump back to Lori, and she goes back up to her room, and it's dark, so she keeps the light off, and she gets in bed, and then we see this figure in the corner behind a door of this man, this very tall man with his hat on, and it is freaky. Like, oh, I don't know. That people all of a sudden showing up where they shouldn't be always makes me jump. So in the morning, we wake up, and her slutty friend is dead. She is completely bloody in the bed, and there's on the wall there's written in blood, "Aren't you glad you didn't turn on the lights?" And then there's this like cross symbol that's like this symbol like this, and there's like these dots around it, something like that. So now this poor girl is connected to two murders, and they would have to, like, institutionalize me if I saw two people murdered. Two people that I was pretty close to. Uh, I cannot imagine, like, what she was probably going through in her mind when you know she didn't do it, but these, people that are connected to her keep dying. And she kind of takes it pretty well, considering. Um, so Sam and Dean sneak into the sorority house and they see the writing on the wall, and they say it's right out of the legend, that happening. So Sam does some more investigating, and he figures out there's been incidents like this throughout the history of the town. Same things happening, and each time it was with the clergyman. And so Dean goes to the graveyard and finds an unmarked grave with the same symbol, that, like, cross symbol with the dots around it. And he digs, and I have a little problem with the timing on this, because he undigs the grave, and he digs down pretty far, and he does it in a relatively short amount of time, and it's just him, and I don't believe that can happen. But that's just a small thing. So Sam goes to Lori, and they kind of make a connection. I think people that are in pain and people that have experienced these terrible tragedies, Sam has been able to be more empathetic with them now that what happened with Jessica, and so he easily makes a connection with Lori, and they talk, and Lori starts complaining about her dad and about the immorality of her dad dating a married woman. And she says how her dad raised her to believe that if you do something wrong, you get punished. Which is, I mean, that's a pretty common thing, I would think. Growing up, I would think, that you would be raised that way. And I think she's just very confused, and she starts to lash out about that. And she just doesn't know what to think anymore. And then she kind of makes a move on Sam and kisses him. And I don't know if this is just part of the acting now or the lashing out about what's happening, but she just met Sam like a day ago. I don't know how, I don't know, maybe that's just me, maybe I'm weird, but I don't know how she could, like, make a move on him and try to kiss him. I don't know. But she pushes him off, and that's kind of unsurprising to us, because, he was completely in love with Jessica, and that didn't happen that long ago. So he pushes her away and says he can't. And then her dad comes out and asks Lori to come inside, and she's angry right now. And then the Hookman shows up and drags her dad, like, he hooks his, like, hook into his, like, his shoulder and drags him back into the house. And Sam shoots it with rock salt, so the spirit kind of dissolves, but the dad is seriously injured. And they're kind of confused about why the spirit's still there, since Dean salted and burned the bones, which is supposed to, release the spirit. So then they think the spirit is connected to Lori, and, they go through, the boyfriend came on way too strong, so it's all about what Lori thinks and about the immorality of things. So for her, even though for others it may not have been like this, for her boyfriend came on way too strong and was pressuring her to do things she didn't want to. So that was being immoral to her. So the Hookman came as part of her, spirit feeling, and got revengeance on him, punished him for that. And then her friend tried to make her into this party girl that she wasn't. She tried to make her wear these slutty tops. I personally believe in wearing modest clothes. This is probably about as low cut as you'll see me. And so I completely understand where she's coming from, with the immodest feeling of the clothes. So then, she felt the need to punish her friend for that. And then her dad is cheating, so she felt the need to punish him for that. And they Sam and Dean figure out that the hook is the source of the Hookman's power. So, they figure out if you find the hook, the original hook, and melt it, you'll stop the Hookman. So they go to the church and the rectory, and they find all the silver in the house, and they melt it. But the Hookman's still there, and they figure out that Lori has this chain of silver that came from the church, and so they melt that, and then the Hookman disappears. And then the ending song for this episode is "Peace of Mind," I think by Boston. I think, and it's a good song. I think, once again, 2 songs in a row that Supernatural has ended with very well. "Peace of Mind." Lori can now relax about what's happening because the Hookman's no longer connected to her. I think she's made sense of what's happened. And so she has a peace, albeit, whatever. But it's a good song. So grading for this episode, character development, 18 out of 22. We didn't learn a whole lot from Sam and Dean, and that's what I basically based my character development on. I think the development for Lori was very well done, especially for just being a supporting character. We learned a lot about her, more than usual, especially more than last week's episode. So yeah, character development was pretty good, but not the best for Sam and Dean. Good balance between emotional pull and action driven. I said a 17 out of 17. I like the way they developed Lori, and that we were able to kind of get attached to her. And then the action was very well done with the her friends popping up dying, and her dad being hurt, and the Hookman showing up randomly. It was a very good balance. Effective use of music, 5 out of 5. Like I said, I liked the ending song they chose. Makeup and special effects, 10 out of 10. This episode is blood, blood, and more blood. And the ghost was very well done. It's kind of the first time we've seen this, ghost-like spirit. And it was very well done. Overall story quality of the week, 21 out of 27. This is my favorite episode, but I do watch it on occasion. I don't, there aren't a lot of great emotional moments for me between Sam and Dean, but between Lori and others, very well done. Monster of the week, 7 out of 10. It's another classic lore monster. It's not my favorite, but it's still pretty darn good. Acting, 4 out of 5. Lori was okay for me. Not the best, but decent. I've seen better. Contributing to season-long arc, 1 out of 4. This episode doesn't really contribute at all. I like it, but pushing the story forward, it's just a standalone episode, so not really contributing at all. So total 81, B minus. It's not the best quality I've come to expect from Supernatural, but it's still pretty good. Yeah, so let me know what you think, if you like it, or what you think of this episode, or if you agree with things I said or not, and I'll see you next time.